Hey, groupers. Pastor Marshall here. We are almost half done with the book of Colossians. We're in the third chapter. I hope that you are ready for Bible study. I introduced the belief behavior seesaw this week. I started by sharing how when I fell in love, I saw this happen. As a group, I wonder if you could brainstorm, just to break the ice, get everybody talking, if you could brainstorm, what else do you see the belief behavior seesaw? You see it when we fall in love. You see it in our relationship with God in faith. When else do you see the belief behavior seesaw? When else is it evident? Well, after everybody gets talking, then ready to dig into the text. What has already happened to believers, according to Paul, in this passage, and what will happen in the future in these verses? What has already happened and what will happen in the future? Paul says to set your mind on things above. What do you think that this looks like in everyday practice? How do we actually set our minds on things above? And what obstacles are there to practicing this heavenly mindedness in your daily life? Just personally, what do you think is keeping you from focusing on things that are above? Share with your group. Next, take time to write down all of your identities. Who are you? I think you should each do this individually, so I hope you've got paper in front of you, because I think it's a valuable practice. Who are you nationally? What race are you? What is your career? What is your status in relationships? Married, not married, things like that. What about your education? What about your wealth? What about your class? What about your birth order? The list goes on and on. Write down your identities. Now, honestly, put them in order. Which do you think is the most important to you, all the way down to the least important? And then after you've done that, written down your identities and ordered them, where would you put being a Christian in that list? And if you didn't put being a Christian first, why do you think that you didn't put identifying with Christ as your first identity? And what would it take to put it there? What would it take to making you a Christian, the fact that you are a Christian, as your chief identity? Well, are there any of these sins in verses 5 through 9 that are an issue for you? And which ones were in your past, maybe before you came to Christ, or early in your relationship with Christ, or before you got serious about church? Which of these were an issue in your past? And then look at the list of virtues. Which of the virtues do you think requires the most effort for you? And why do you think that is? I hope that you will share with your group which one is a good challenge for you and why that is. Because of what you were taught as parents, by your parents, because of what your spouse requires of you or expects of you. Why do you think this virtue is difficult? Now, Paul speaks of endurance and forgiveness and love in this passage. Which of these do you think that people find the hardest to do in the church? Because that's what Paul's talking about, that in the church we would practice these three things: endurance, forgiveness, and love. Which do you think are the hardest for us to practice in our own church? And how do we do this? If we are missing one of these, how does it affect our witness? How does it affect our church life? Or why are these so essential? I guess that's what I want you to talk about. Well, every week we talk about application, and so I'm just wanting you to visualize this belief behavior seesaw. And Paul talked about things that would be removed from our lives to bring our belief up, that our behavior would change and bring our belief up. So what things in your life, what did you decide that you needed to remove from your life so that your behavior came more in line with your beliefs? But then Paul also talks about virtues, things that we would add to our lives so that we also bring this seesaw to balance. Maybe there was one thing that you decided that you needed to add to your life, or that you were going to start to work on in your life so that you could bring your belief behavior seesaw into balance. Well, I hope that you have a wonderful group, and I'll see you next weekend as we continue to walk through the book of Colossians. God bless.